Hello, Leslie.
Hello, Mads. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. And welcome to everyone from YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching this at. Welcome to another live episode of Visual Studio Toolbox. So I'm your host, Leslie Richardson. Joining me is Mads Kristensen. And we're so excited because this is the first time we're talking about Visual Studio 2022. Specifically recovering previews 1 and 2, and we're going to be doing a fun set of demos and of all the cool new features that you should be using when you download previews 1 and 2 of VS 2022.
Yeah, we have a
So,
lot
you
of.
excited, Mats?
I am because we have a lot of cool things that we haven't really shown, as you were saying, and I'm looking forward to talking to the people behind the features because they're here and they're ready and eager to demo for anyone watching. So, what do you
Yep.
think, Leslie? Should we get going?
I think so too. And yeah, because the team is here, feel free to send all of your questions that you've ever had about VS 2022 and send them our way, and we'll be happy to help answer them. And before we actually get into 2022, I think we want to give a shout out to 16.11, which recently updated as well, because there are some cool features that exist in both that you can try out in 16.11, such as .NET Hot Reload, which we're going to be talking about later in this video, as well as some new help menu features, including some getting started, tips and tricks, that sort of thing, and some new Git integration features, such as just the ability to see additional information about particular branches or your repo in general, all within Visual Studio, so you don't have to exit to another browser in order to see all that info.
And of course, 16.11 is Visual Studio 2019, and it's currently in preview, right? 16.11, the next update. So you might already have tried it out there, but yep, there are things that are both in 2019 as well as 2022, and we'll talk about that as well. All right.
Yep.
Let's get ready. Let's invite.
All right, so let's do
the first
it.
Guest.
Let's
Andy.
start. Yep.
How are you, Andy?
Hey, I'm good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. So what do you got for us today, Andy?
Yeah,
Great.
so what I'm going to...
Yep.
Sorry, a bit of lag there.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to be talking about is one of the features we added in the first release of Visual Studio 2022, which is Visual Studio is now 64-bit. So for a lot of you, this will hopefully improve the scalability and reliability of Visual Studio. So if you look here, I've got like Visual Studio, it's running, just debugging an application, nothing special. But if you go over to Task Manager, the first thing that was worth calling out is that Visual Studio for a long time has always used multiple processors, like to run different services such as the language services or debugger services. And over time, many of those have been 64-bit. But the main dev end process, you can see some of these services here, has up until now all been 32-bit. But now if you go to devend.exe, which of course is the main process, you can see it's 64-bit. So that's a really big thing for customers who have large solutions and who have used or are using Visual Studio for long periods of time, and memory eventually grows with usage. Now we can scale to use all the resources on your computer, which is hopefully really going to impact people in terms of not seeing any of those out of memory crashes or anything like that. So this is a fundamental feature. It's not necessarily a feature a lot of you might notice. It doesn't have any shiny UI or anything like that, but it's silently there and visible to all through Task Manager. And as part of this move, obviously, to 64-bit, it's not just Visual Studio that has to move, but also our extensions. And so we've been really excited with our extension ecosystem, our extension partners, many of which have started to create new extensions for Visual 2022 that have to work in 64-bit, which requires them to work to update their extension and republish it. But if you go to the gallery, you can already see there's tons of extensions that are starting to come in. So hopefully, for developers who are trying out the preview of 2022, you'll also be able to use your favorite extension, especially if it happens to be written by Mads.
This is all very, very cool, Andy. Yeah, so that's the thing, like all the extensions coming in, for a lot of people, they depend on extensions before they're able to update to the latest Visual Studio, right? Until their favorite extensions are ready. And it looks like a lot of them are just getting ready. Every day there's new extensions being uploaded to support 2022.
Yep, and hopefully that trend will continue throughout the previews. As you know, for each of these extension authors, it could either be a little bit of work or a lot of work to move to 2022, depending on how deeply entangled with the 32-bit your extension really was. So it's exciting to see these, especially some of the large ones from Telerik and people like that who have moved their controls over to allow you to create and continue to use their great content inside 2022.
Yeah. So just to ask you a little bit into the whole 64-bit. So we often talk about like large solutions will no longer see these out-of-memory exceptions caused by basically running out of memory because Visual Studio can now use the full address space of the 64-bit. But what about like smaller solutions? What about smaller teams that maybe have 10 projects or even less in a solution? Are they going to see any like benefits or performance benefits or something like that?
Yeah, so like unfortunately everything with performance, the answer is it depends. Like one of the benefits of having more address space, more memory essentially, is that the garbage collector in .NET can work more effectively. There's less pressure for memory. So sometimes if you can see pauses caused by essentially .NET pausing the threads to start collecting and reclaiming some of that memory because it's feeling the pressure of not having it. The space to grow, and so that's gone. So that might, depending on your scenario, but especially when it comes to loading stuff, that might improve there. But in general, like it also allows Visual Studio to take advantage of being 64-bit, and most OSs, literally all of them these days, and all chips being 64-bit, and so there's not that translation layer between 32-bit and 64-bit. So the Visual Studio could use the generated, just-in-time compiled code from .NET can use all the registers that a 64 processor has. And so there are some advantages there, but the advantage is really for those people who were seeing out-of-memory exceptions. Those are the people who are going to win the most from this, because those exceptions will largely have gone away. Now, not all out-of-memory exceptions are strictly caused by running out of memory. Sometimes it can be other resources, especially things like GDI handles from the drawing layer, and those can still crop up, but they were a very slim minority of the overall out-of-memory exceptions that customers could see.
And here's a question from Blue Tuna. Do you have any numbers on how this impacts build performance? Are we seeing any, I guess like when you compile your solution, is that faster now?
So MS Build has been out of process for a while. So I don't have any numbers to hand, but we can certainly look at that up. Again, like build is also one of those activities that's typically reading in a lot of files, and so creating a lot of strings, obviously to compile them, generate ASTs and stuff like that. So those sort of operations that typically allocate strings, and strings typically in a .NET application can be some of the largest sources of allocations. Can benefit from some of this, but I don't have any perf numbers to hand to share.
All right, cool. So I think that was the 64-bit demo here. Let's move on. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you.
Let's say hello to the next guest, Dante. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Mads, doing well. Glad to get a chance to chat with folks today and talk about some of the exciting things we're doing for VS 2022.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited because you have some very interesting features that you're going to demo here today. And I know that there have been some that the community have been asking for. They've been like a while in the works, and now they're finally here. So you want to show them?
Yeah, absolutely. Be glad to. So I've already got VS up, and the first one is really, I know a lot of folks hear me talk a lot about accessibility. One of the areas that helps a lot of folks in the accessibility space is reducing crowding. So by default, Visual Studio doesn't use any line spacing or anything like that, so the text is practically on top of each other. But I can go up here to Visual Studio Search, and I put focus in the right window, take a look for line spacing. And when I go into Tools Options, I can now increase my line spacing to a handful of options here. I'll set it to 2, which is what I actually normally code at. And it just spreads the code out a little bit easier. It makes it easier to see what's going on. It also reduces the cognitive load. We've got a lot of evidence of folks who have who suffer from dyslexia or character dysmorphia, things like that. This just makes it a little bit easier to work with the code.
Right. This is really, really interesting because doesn't Word do this by default as well? It has like line spacing 1.2 or something by default. Like this seems to be something that is more than just like if you like for the people that have like certain conditions like you're mentioning. Is this just generally a good thing for everybody?
For some folks, it is. Now, I own I'm the feature program manager for the editor, and we get a lot of requests from people saying they want a little bit more spacing. And actually, people, when we first showed this off, we had people who wanted to reduce it to get even more characters on the screen, so that I use a wide monitor. I know some developers use more of a tall monitor, and they want every single line of code there. So the goal here is to allow people to have the environment that they want. If you want more characters, you can go down to the 1, which was the old default. We are looking into actually allowing people to get even more there by reducing line spacing further, but there may be some WPF limitations, or be able to increase that amount of space just to spread everything out. It's really about what makes you more comfortable. An example of this is white space indentation, which is something that we've been investigating lately. Folks who use magnifier like to reduce that so that they don't have to move left and right as much when they're using magnifier. But folks who show up on the antithetic spectrum like to have more space there to space everything out and reduce the overload of just having so much text on the screen. So really, it's more about giving you the environment that you're going to be more comfortable with.
All right, that makes sense. Very interesting that people also want it smaller, I think. But why not? I know there's been some extensions in the past that has shrunk some lines in maybe in comments or something, but not in code. And no, it was the brackets, wasn't it? Like the curly brackets. They were like make them smaller so you could fit more code on the screen.
Exactly. There are a lot of extensions doing that, and a lot of this just comes into people want a balance between their own personal abilities and being able to be productive. And what makes one person productive is not as useful for somebody else. We really want to hit that configurability.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Now, another feature I want to show off today, Visual Studio 2022, when you first load up, it's going to look a little bit different. We're now showing off the Cascadia font, which is a new font that was developed originally by the Windows Terminal team. They did some investigation on folks, particularly with dyslexia and character dysmorphia, which is a disability that causes characters to kind of make it easy to mistake one character for another. And this one does a lot of the emphasis of the horizontal portions of the text that, some peer-reviewed research has shown makes it easier for folks who have dyslexia. Now, granted, not everybody has got that one. One of the other things that this font does or enables are the ligatures, which are, if you notice here, the equal greater than ligature that we use in .NET. I don't remember exactly what that indicates. This replaces it with a single character that shows it. Other examples, like for instance, if I say bang equals, which in C# represents not equal, we'll replace that with the mathematical glyph that represents not equal. There are plenty of other characters that will get replaced by ligatures if you want those. Now, the default font that we use is called Cascadia Mono, which disables those fonts. But if I go here, I'm going to go into Visual Studio Search again, look for fonts and colors. And you can change the font here. I have it set to Cascadia Code because I actually prefer the ligatures. But if I take this to Cascadia Mono and press OK, you'll notice that now all those ligatures are replaced with what the original characters are. We got a lot of feedback initially on that the ligatures felt a little bit uncomfortable. So we weren't 100% sure that the right move here was to just give it to everybody who may not know exactly how to switch it over. So by switching it from Cascadia Mono to Cascadia Code, you can use those ligatures. And if this font doesn't do it as well for you, you can hit Control-Q, go back into the fonts and colors, and I can change this back to Consolus, which is the previous Visual Studio font. And when I hit OK here, I'm going to go back to the specific font that Visual Studio 2019 and older versions use. Again, it's all about what's best for you, what works well for your abilities, and what you like the look of. I like the ligatures. Maybe you don't. That's how you can switch between them and use the environment that you like best.
Right. I was very happy when I saw this show up in the internal builds. I didn't know if I was going to like ligatures, but I'm surprised at how much I love reading code with ligatures. So for writing, it's it doesn't really bother me much, but I feel the benefit is there when I read code. And I tend to read more code than I write. I think most developers do that. So I'm a big fan. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. Thank you very much, Dante. I think it's time for us to move on to the next guest. And that would be Mika. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, I'm good. How's it going?
Very good. We got some good features demoed so far, I think. And I know that you always have a bunch of cool demos. Did you bring any this time?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I got to bring it. So let me show you the very first one. So you might notice here that I have this underline. And so this underline represents reassigned variables, which I have turned on in Tools Options. So pro tip, whenever you want to learn about the latest editor features for C# or Visual Basic, you can just go to Tools, Options, Text Editor, C# or Basic, and under Advanced, that's where all of our latest bits will live. So we have a lot of experimental options in here. So if you want to try those out, definitely check it out here. And so I have underline reassigned variables checked off here. And you will need to check it off because it is off by default if you want to use this feature. And so, so this underline is letting me know that the value is being written to multiple times in this method. And I can use the new value tracking feature to see details for how this value is being changed. And so value tracking is available in the right-click menu. And the name of the command is track value source, which will open the value tracking window. And so this will list out every place where the value is being changed. And I can see if I expand this, that it's being changed in this for loop, which is really cool. So, with value tracking, I can see like, oh, we didn't do any crazy value assignments here. And I can just easily visualize what's happening.
That's phenomenal. I love that.
Yeah. It's been highly asked for. So I'm just really excited that we got this one in.
Yeah.
And so this is just my solar system app. And so I have this Earth completes its orbit once a year. And so let's say I want to see whether or not the current year I'm in is a leap year. So I'll want to go ahead and create a separate method that calculates that for me. So let me just do that. And I'm going to use our new smart breakline feature, which came out in previous releases, but just a reminder, if you type Shift-Enter, I'll automatically get those curly braces added for me.
Whoa.
And I know, it's really, really useful. And so I can just do a simple leap year calculation here. Let's see. 8 times. And I remember the last leap year was in 2000. And I think leap years happen every 4 years. So I'm going to go ahead and use mod 4. And notice here that I'm getting these like inline hints for completion. And so this is IntelliCode's whole line completion. And it's giving me a suggestion based on my code's current context. So if I want, I can just press tab and that will simply accept the suggestion. And IntelliCode's whole line completion came out in Visual Studio 2022 Preview 1. And it's awesome. I barely have to type anymore. It's gotten that smart. And you can always toggle this option off or on if you just select this purple light bulb over here. And so you have lots of options there. If you find it distracting at some moments, you can just quickly turn it off if you want and then turn it back on.
That's very cool.
It's so cool, yeah. And so right here, let's say I want to, so this pretty much calculates the current year, whether or not it's a leap year. And so let's say I want to actually create a parameter for leap year. We now have a refactoring, which is called introduce parameter. So if I type Control dot or Alt Enter, I'll get my list of refactoring options here. And so this new one here is for introducing a parameter, and this will automatically also update all the call sites for me directly. I can then use inline rename to quickly, name this new parameter, let's say leap year of some sort. So that's also brand new, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And I do want to just show off one more thing. So we now, let me just quickly add this. So we now have quick info, like XML quick info comment support, which will actually preserve white space. So if I want, I can say, let's see. And I hover over this class, you can see that the white space is now preserved, which is really cool. So this was also highly requested. And
you always have these little sort of productivity things that are just like, I can see myself using them like many times a day. So even though they seem like small, I have a feeling that they're going to be very impactful.
Yeah, we really hope so. Yeah. And I do want to talk a little bit about the Raster Editor. For those of you that don't know, we completely rewrote the Raster Editor. So you will start noticing different navigation options and light bulb refactorings and quick actions. They'll start, lighting up in this editor. And we made tons of performance improvements, formatting enhancements. So it's going to be more reliable and significantly faster. We also added new colors. And so you can just check that out. And let's say you don't love the colors we chose for you. You can always go to fonts and colors under environment. I just like to use Control Q search whenever I search for tools options, as you can see. And so let's see, where would they be? I think under Raster. Yeah, so here you can see all the different Raster options. So you can go ahead and add a font color, a background color. If you're feeling really bold, you can even bold it. So lots of options here. And one of the more exciting features that we added to Raster files is hot reload support. So I'm going to go ahead and just run this app here.
So this, I know that the Raster Editor is like one of the most complex editors in Visual Studio languages, because it mixes, you can write inline CSS, JavaScript, C#, and HTML all together, and it all has to work and figure out what parts belong to each other and so on.
Yeah. It's complex. I'm learning a lot about it every day. We even got a request recently about tests, being able to write tests in the Raster Editor. I was like, whoa. That would be crazy.
Well, if any editor could handle it, it would be the Raster Editor.
It would be the Raster Editor, yes. So here, if I go to counter and I click this, you can see that it's going up by 1. And if I want, let's say I want to make it go up by 10, I can just select the hot reload icon here to apply that. And then if I click it, it'll go ahead and add that change. So I didn't have to stop my app or hit a breakpoint in order to apply that change. It'll just go ahead and do that for me.
And there was no delay. It you
yeah,
click the button,
snappy.
It wasn't like it had to recompile in the background and then apply. It was
yeah. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
So this now works for Blazor apps, and it already worked for other types of apps?
Yeah, it works for a ton of apps. Honestly, I can't even keep up. It just, it works for so much. We want it to really work for everything. And
so that means everything .NET Core related? Or .NET 5?
Yeah.
And C++?
Apparently, yeah.
This is very cool.
Cool, yeah.
Awesome. Is that what you had? Is that what you brought this time, Mika?
Yeah, that's it for today. So.
All right. Well, that was a lot. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Fantastic. Bye. And yes, thank you. And I think we got, let's see, we got Leslie back. Let's see. Maybe not. We have some technical difficulties here. Sometimes the internet is not playing ball, but that just brings us on to the next segment, which David, you're going to show us. Is that right?
Hi, everyone.
Good to see you, my friend.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm a C++ PM, and my primary focus is video game developers. Today, I'll show you a few things that the C++ team has been working on. and I'll finish it off with a hot reload demo. Just like Mika mentioned, C++, hot reload is now available for C++.
Nice.
First thing I want to talk about is it's a new tool set, the V143 tool set. And the one thing that I know everyone, the question that's on everyone's mind is it binary compatible? And the answer is yes. The tool set is binary compatible with V140 to V143. And we at the C++ team really want to make a friction-free upgrade for everyone to Visual Studio 2022. You can install the preview side by side without impacting any existing installations. And also, of course, continue using the older versions of our compiler in VS 2022. And for V143, one of the biggest upcoming features that I'm going to tease out today is you're going to get C++ 23 features as they are standardized and subsequently implemented with V143. So yeah, it's just try it, install the preview side by side. It won't make any existing impacts to your projects unless you approve it. When you load up an old project, the new preview automatically asks if you want to upgrade to V143. And from there, you can either accept or decline.
So does that mean that if I'm working today on my C++ app in Visual Studio 2019, I can just install 2022 next to that and open that same project and everything just kind of works using the same toolkits and everything?
Yep. Everything just works. And including your third-party libraries, because V143 maintains binary compatibility.
Man, that's fantastic. So here's another question from Blue Tuna. What about C++ 20?
C++ 20 is still supported in V143.
All right. That's fantastic. So we got a bunch of stuff here from .NET to C++ to like across the board in the editor and elsewhere. So this is a big release.
Yeah, of course. And not just that we have the new tool set, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about the WSL2 in Visual Studio 2022. And of course, as you know from WSL1, this is our focus on improving your experience of working so you can target not only Windows, but other platforms. And you can debug and build natively on WS2 distributions from VS without ever adding an SSH connection. And so how it works is the build is invoked in the Linux file system, while debug uses the front end of the VS debugger backed by GDB. And this supports CMake, which is actually our recommendation for C++ cross-platform development. Why WS2 over WSL1? It's because WS2 gives you a better file system performance, full system call compatibility, and GUI support. If you want to find out more, please go to aka.ms/WSL2VS.
All right. Yeah, I know the file system is much faster. So that basically means that Visual Studio, is it true that does it copy it does like an rsync copy or something down to the WSL2 file system, and then it does the compilation or something that's like super optimized? It's quite incredible what the WSL2 is kind of allowing Visual Studio to do and to utilize that.
Yeah, and if you follow the link, which is once again aka.ms/WSL2VS, you'll find a ton of demos by my coworker Erica. Lots of cool content for you to learn.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, David.
Yeah, And one last thing is, just like Mika mentioned earlier, Hot Reload is finally available for C++. I know this is a feature that game devs has been asking a lot, and so shout out to all the game devs in chat. And just a little quick explanation of how Hot Reload works. So Hot Reload is powered by Edit and Continue, which has been around for quite a while. And the difference is now you can apply code changes without stopping at a breakpoint or restarting your app. And the goal is to increase your productivity so you can spend less time building and restarting your app. Now, Hot Reload works for both EXE and DLL projects. And as long as you use, as long as your code base is compiled by MSVC toolset with the ZI compiler switch, it's gonna do fine. And all the existing limitations and features of Edit Continue applies. Now, we are hearing that a lot of you out there who have CMake projects really want this feature. And here today, glad to announce that CMake projects will be supported in an upcoming preview. And for that, let me give you a quick demo with a DirectX 12 sample project. So here we can see a colored box moving across a white box in the prediction query sample app. One of the things you can do is change how fast the colored box moves across the screen. In the translation speed, I can either speed up or slow it down. So if I change this into a .1 and go up here and press the Hot Reload button, you can see immediately the box goes across faster and faster. And this is one of the cool things that Hot Reloads can help you do.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is going to save so much time in that inner loop that we do like hundreds of times a day, right? Make a change, compile, see the changes.
And I want all of you to give us your feedback. Your feedback is very important to us as we continue to make this experience better and better. So please go to aka.ms/HRCPP survey and tell us what you think.
Awesome. Well, people, you already here. Go check out the survey and give us any feedback you have on this to make it even better. Well, thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
And now I think we actually have Leslie back.
Hi. Yeah, I was so excited about all the cool features that I just had to jump off the stream and play around with everything. So
yes, it was so exciting that your internet broke down.
Yep. This is the downside to work from home this often. It's like your Wi-Fi just decides to blow up, or your laptop, or both. I think it might be a little bit of both in my case. So thank you for taking over. And it went really smoothly, and I'm excited to try out all these cool new features, especially Hot Reload. I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah, that's just exciting, and I'm really surprised that it just works kind of everywhere.
Yeah,
no matter what type of .NET project or C++ project, it kind of just works, even for game development.
Right, and it's not just a .NET feature, right, which a lot of people ask, which is so exciting.
Absolutely.
And
it's actually it's built on one of your old features, right? Edit and continue is kind of what lies underneath.
Yeah. Yep. Edit and continue had to walk so that Hot Reload could run.
Yep. Well said. All right. So I think we actually made it through all the content we had scheduled for this particular unboxing episode.
I'm looking through chat to see if there's anything.
Any questions? We took some questions along the way.
Cool.
So I think we covered everything. But of course, like if you have more comments, just you can ask under the video. It doesn't have to be live.
Absolutely. And all of us had our Twitter handles up during this whole recording, so feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. And yeah. Trying. I was like, what are you pointing at, Matt? And also, if you haven't tried it out already, since previews 1 and 2 are out, you can download Visual Studio 2022 for free right now. So you can go to visualstudio.microsoft.com and try it out today and share all of your feedback to make sure that we can improve it to be the best that it can be, especially once it goes full on live in the months to come.
Yep. Yeah, that's important. Go download it. It's free, and it even has go live. You can even like write production code with the preview. So there's no excuse not to try it out.
Mm-hmm. And also be sure to tune in the next month or so, because there's actually so much more features that are going to be in Visual Studio 2022 that we couldn't cover for previews 1 and 2. So join us next time when we do a live show on what's new in previews 3 and 4, which is going to come up soon, which is going to be very exciting.
Yep.
Lots of good stuff on the horizon there for those two, especially.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're in for a treat, everybody. It's only going to get better. It's already fantastic, and it's going to get better.
Mm-hmm. And if it's not better, let us know so we can make it better. Mm-hmm. Great. So yeah, with that, any final words, Mads? Because
I think we covered it all. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm ready to bail on the stream again and try out some more features. So thank you all so much. Again, hit us up on Twitter or be sure to download VS 2022. And until next time, happy coding.
Happy coding.
Bye, y'all.